I was Luo Wenjo's cherished dream, the girlfriend he went to great lengths to win over, yet on his childhood sweetheart Lin Qian's wedding night, he drowned his sorrows for her. He told me he regretted everything, then lost control and jumped from the car to his death. His parents had me thrown in prison. I died after enduring immense suffering. They still wouldn't let up. My parents died in a car accident. My brother had his legs broken by thugs. My sister-in-law perished in the flames. A tragic loss of 2 lives, hers and the unborn child's. Returning to the night Luo Wenjo leaped from the car, I wept tears of overwhelming joy. Brother, I'm so sorry, hovering in the air. I watched my brother reduced to begging on the streets, my heart shattered beyond repair. Suddenly, a jarring ringtone pierced through the silence. My vision went dark, my eyes fluttered open to the familiar sight of my ceiling. Did I just get a second chance at life? The phone on my nightstand kept ringing. Qin Chen's name flashing on the screen, Luo Wenjo's childhood friend. I picked up the phone, remembering that this very call had destroyed my family and ruined my life. My fingers clenched the phone tightly before I hurled it to the ground with all my might. I suddenly burst into uncontrollable laughter, tears streaming down my cheeks. Today is the wedding day of Luo Wenjo's childhood sweetheart Lin Qian. Just this afternoon he told me my wedding would be even grander than hers, yet here he is, drowning his sorrows late at night. His childhood friend Qin Chen called asking me to pick him up. In my past life, I rushed out in my pajamas, driving frantically to pick him up. In the car, reeking of alcohol, he sobbed, Qian, I regret everything. I swallowed my heartache and comforted him, yet he kept trampling on my heart, over and over. Qian, it's always been you that I love. Qian, please don't marry him, okay? Finally, worn out and heartbroken, I told him. Then get out of the car and go win her back. To my shock, he actually opened the car door and jumped out, killed by an oncoming truck. The powerful Luo family had both me and the truck driver thrown in prison. I was specially handled inside and eventually died after enduring relentless humiliation, yet his parents still wouldn't let it go. 2. Luo Wenjo was rescued after jumping into the river. Why didn't he just die? Early this morning, Qin Chen's frantic door pounding woke me up. Still in my pajamas, he dragged me to the hospital, insisting Luo Wenjo was in a desperate state and only I could comfort him. As I reached the hospital room door, I heard Mrs. Luo's voice from inside. Now you're having regrets and acting all dramatic. Qian adored you back then, and we had to pressure you into the engagement. You were the one who said I have feelings for someone else. I only see Qian as a sister. I just don't get it. What does Su Nanqiao have that Qian doesn't? Family background, looks, education. Mom, please stop. I won't stop. You. I turned to leave, but Qin Chen suddenly shoved me into the hospital room from behind. Stumbling forward, I crashed into the view of everyone in the hospital room. Luo's mother looked me up and down, noticing I was still in my pajamas, and immediately sneered, well, look who decided to show up. My son put you on a pedestal, and this is how you repay him. Couldn't even answer your phone last night. You drove him to jump into the river. He almost died. I'm not done with you yet. I stared at Luo's mother's face, well-maintained yet twisted with spite and disgust. Visions of blood-soaked grudges from my past life flooded my mind in an instant. How she used her influence to orchestrate my parents' accidental car crash, hired thugs to break my brother's legs, and set a fire that killed my pregnant sister-in-law and her unborn child. My nails dug deep into my palms. The sharp pain a stark reminder to keep my composure. I looked her straight in the eye and said with a cold laugh, Auntie, you certainly think too highly of me. I turned my head, my icy gaze falling upon the pale-faced Luo Wenjo lying in the hospital bed, not a trace of affection left in my eyes. Luo Wenjo, you're clearly drowning your sorrows over Lin Qian. Why drag me into this pathetic charade of devotion? If you're really this hung up on Lin Qian, fine. My voice was icy and final. Let's break up. You're free. Go win her back right now. With those words, I turned and walked away without a single backward glance. Behind me came Luo Wenjo's frantic shouts and his mother's furious shrieks. I know I'm not in a position to seek revenge right now. The consequences would be too much for me to bear. But that's okay. I refuse to believe the Luo family is flawless. 3. After leaving the hospital, I immediately blocked and deleted all of Luo Wenjo's contact information. I booked the earliest flight back to Jiangqing. The moment the plane landed and my feet touched my hometown soil, my heart ached with overwhelming emotion. In my past life after I died, my parents wanted to give me a proper burial, but the Luo family had my remains cremated and scattered to the wind. Pushing open the front door, I found only my sister-in-law at home. She was wearing an apron and holding a spatula. Seeing me, she froze for a moment before a warm smile spread across her face. Xiao Qiao, what brings you back so suddenly? Come in, quick. Seeing my vibrant and gentle sister-in-law before me, and recalling her tragic fate in the past life, I was instantly overwhelmed by a wave of terror and the profound relief of having her back. I couldn't utter a single word, just threw myself into her arms as tears streamed down uncontrollably. I was terrified that this rebirth was just a dream, and that I'd wake up as a wandering soul once more. I cried until I had no strength left, eventually falling into an exhausted sleep, soothed by her gentle whispers. When I woke up again, it was already evening, and both my parents and brother had returned. My mother sat by the bed, wiping my face with a pained expression. Silly child, what's troubling you? It's good to be home. Your dad and I can still take care of you. Without asking too many questions, my father quietly peeled an apple and handed it to me. Have an apple first, leaning against the doorframe. My brother looked at me with deep concern in his eyes. Did that jerk Luo Wenzhou bully you? Looking at them, my heart swelled with a bittersweet warmth. They're alive, perfect. I sat up, hugged my mom, then my dad, and said with a smile, no, I just missed you both. Besides, I took the apple from my father's hand. It had been so long since I'd last had an apple he peeled for me. Luo Wenzhou and I have broken up. The room fell silent for a moment. Mom looked surprised at first, then breathed a sigh of relief as she gently pulled me into her arms. Maybe it's for the best. Their family standards are just too high when you're treated unfairly by him. It's hard for your dad and me to even stand up for you properly. The next day, my brother drove me to the airport. At the airport, he took my luggage and ruffled my hair, speaking with unusual seriousness. Xiao Qiao, remember this, no matter what happens, home will always be your safe haven. Don't tough it out if you're treated badly. I might not be as wealthy as the Luo family, but I can support you for a lifetime without any problem. Looking at my brother's gentle, vibrant face while remembering his crippled leg from begging in the mud in my past life, my eyes instantly welled up with tears. My brother was the golden boy. At just 20, he started his own gaming company fueled by passion and talent, with a future full of promise. But the Luo family paid off his best friend, who used so-called evidence to twist the truth online, falsely accusing my brother of stealing all his creative work. My brother was cyberbullied, his company went bankrupt, and his reputation was completely ruined. Even so, he refused to be defeated. He dragged his exhausted body around searching for jobs, determined to start over. But the Luo family wouldn't even grant him that chance. They hired thugs to brutally break both his legs, plunging him into utter despair. I spun around abruptly, turning my back to my brother, and waved vigorously, desperate to hide the hatred burning in my eyes. Damn you, Luo family, you deserve to rot in hell. 5. I saw the last person I wanted to see outside my rental apartment. Luo Wenzhou. What awful luck. I couldn't even be bothered to lift my eyelids as I walked straight past him. He grabbed my hand abruptly. Xiao Qiao, what you said at the hospital that day was just out of anger, right? Why did you block all my contacts? Staring into his sorrowful eyes, I couldn't help but find it ridiculous. Was he still trying to play the devoted lover now? I shook off his hand forcefully and said coldly, every word I said that day came from the heart. I don't believe it. He pressed closer again, gripping my hand. We loved each other so deeply. For you, I defied my family time and again, gave up my childhood friend Lin Qian, and finally got my parents to agree. You once said meeting me was the greatest luck of your life. How could you be so heartless? Luo Wenzhou, search your conscience. I stared at him, jabbing my finger hard against his chest. Do you really love me? If you loved me, why did you drown your sorrows and jump into the river when Lin Qian married someone else? Wasn't I clear enough at the hospital? What are you doing here now? I stepped closer to him, my eyes filled with contempt. When Lin Qian had feelings for him, he couldn't have cared less. Lin Qian got married, and now he's having regrets. Isn't he just pathetic? What? Am I some kind of trash bin now? He panicked instantly, stumbling over his words. No, that's not it. Xiao Qiao, listen to me. I just couldn't handle her sudden marriage. After all, we grew up together since childhood, inseparable for over a decade. Do you even believe that yourself? I cut off his nauseating spiel, swiped my card to enter, and never looked back. Xiao Qiao. 6. The next time I saw Luo Wenzhou after we last parted was at a university reunion. I was the last to arrive. The private room was buzzing with noise, and the only empty seat was conspicuously placed to Luo Wenzhou's left. It seemed no one had heard about our breakup yet. As they enthusiastically urged me to come sit down, I smiled without looking in that direction and directly called the waiter. Could we get an extra chair, please? Naturally, I took the seat next to Lin Qian. The atmosphere instantly turned icy. Everyone's eyes darted between me and Luo Wenzhou, whose face had suddenly darkened. Before they finally caught on to what was happening, Lin Qian leaned in and whispered, "Did you two break up?" I gave a slight nod. Her face was a canvas of disbelief, with a flicker of joy flashing in her eyes. I was once Luo Wenzhou's unattainable white moonlight, the girlfriend he pursued with relentless determination. Our beginning felt like a scene straight out of a romantic drama. We first met at my flower shop. My brother opened it for me when I was in college. That day, he came to buy a birthday bouquet for Lin Qian. After that, he became a regular customer. I could sense he might have feelings for me. But I was well aware that a rich kid's interest is often just a passing fancy, yet he went all out with a grand confession that became the talk of the whole school. I refused. What followed was months of relentless pursuit: flowers, watches, designer bags, necklaces. I returned every single gift unopened. What truly won me over was catching him gently and patiently feeding stray cats, with nothing but genuine kindness in his eyes. He stepped in without hesitation to help a woman being harassed when he witnessed the injustice. He naturally bent down to help an elderly scavenger pick up scattered bottles and cans. I said yes when he confessed for the 99th time. After we got together, he truly respected me and treated me as an equal, without the usual arrogance and entitlement of a rich second-generation heir. I used to think I was lucky. If Lin Qian hadn't suddenly gotten married, if he hadn't gotten drunk and jumped from the car, if not for the blood debt from my past life that destroyed my family. But alas, there are no what-ifs. His reckless pursuit of death cost me everything, my family, my home, all gone. That's why in this life, there's only one kind of bond between us, mortal enemies, locked in a fight to the death. 7. Stepping out of the restroom, Luo Wenzhou was indeed blocking the hallway. He had a cigarette between his fingers, but immediately stubbed it out when he saw me. I lowered my gaze, realizing he still remembered. Back when I couldn't stand the slightest whiff of smoke, he had quit smoking for me. Every time we hung out with his friends, he'd repeatedly warn everyone in advance that no one was allowed to smoke around me. Looking back on all those past kindnesses now just feels utterly absurd. "Xiao Qiao," he said with a weary expression and hoarse voice. "I've thought it over, it's you I love." Lin Qian had feelings for me for so long, and her sudden marriage, he seemed to struggle with the words, hanging his head. My male pride got the better of me, so I drank to drown my sorrows. After drinking, I don't know what came over me to jump into the river so impulsively. He looked up, staring straight at me. That wasn't my true intention. "Xiao Qiao." I listened calmly until he finished speaking, then raised my hand to reveal the ring on my right ring finger. "Luo Wenzhou, I'm married now. Stop bothering me." His pupils constricted sharply as he grabbed my hand, frantically trying to tear the ring off. "You're lying to me, aren't you? There's no way you married someone else. I don't believe it." The bodyguard stationed nearby immediately stepped forward and swiftly restrained him. I straightened my sleeves, caught sight of Lin Qian peeking from around the corner, and told her, "I've already paid for the dinner. Could you please look after everyone? I'm heading out." Ignoring Luo Wenzhou's nearly hysterical shouts behind me, "Xiao Qiao, come back. Tell me this isn't true." I walked away without looking back. 9. Sitting in the speeding car, I stared blankly at the ring on my ring finger. A week ago, after my final confrontation with Luo Wenzhou downstairs at the rental apartment, an overwhelming sense of anxiety began gnawing at me day and night. I knew deep down that unless I brought down the Luo family soon, this burning hatred in my heart would never subside. Visions of my parents' horrific deaths in my past life, my sister-in-law's desperate demise in the flames, my brother reduced to crawling and begging on the streets. Night after night, it haunts my dreams, leaving me no peace. So I frantically searched through memories of past lives, seeking any force that could stand against the Luo family. A name suddenly sprang to mind: the Zhu family, a true century-old distinguished family, with unfathomable depth and heritage. I recall that Zhu Yunxian, the youngest son and the most beloved of the Zhu family patriarch, was involved in a severe car accident recently and became comatose. The patriarch, being highly superstitious, turned to the abbot of Lingyin Temple after futile attempts with renowned doctors. This incident even made it to the trending topics at the time. the abbot divined that Zhu Yunchuan's destined benefactor was born in Yunluo village, Renwu, EC, Guihai, Jiayin. The Zhu family indeed tracked down my rural hometown based on the clues, and eventually found my parents. They didn't explicitly mention a wedding to ward off bad luck, but their intention couldn't have been clearer. Find a girl whose birth chart aligns with his, to accompany a man who may never wake up from his vegetative state. My parents may be honest and simple folks, but they're not fools. They immediately grasped the Zhu's ulterior motives. How could they possibly agree? To them, this was nothing short of pushing me into a bottomless pit of misery, condemning me to live as a living widow in a wealthy family for the rest of my days. They loved their daughter dearly and knew they couldn't stand against the colossal Zhu family. The slightest hesitation might have made me a lucky bride for a dying man, so they took the most drastic measure. They threw the visitors out immediately, cutting off all of the Zhu family's hopes. I only learned about this after my death, when my wandering spirit happened upon Zhu Yunchuan's funeral and overheard the servants talking. In this lifetime, the Zhu family is my one and only chance to bring down the Luo family, and the best one at that. I have to seize it. I packed my bags as quickly as I could and headed back to Jiangqing. By my calculations, the Zhu family will come looking for me any day now. 9. I pushed open the door, and every pair of eyes in the room instantly locked onto me. The atmosphere was so tense it felt suffocating, suppressing my racing heart. I feigned confusion and asked, "Dad, Mom, do we have guests?" On the sofa sat an elegant woman in a qipao, exuding grace, flanked by stern-faced bodyguards and a refined elderly butler standing behind her. Mom turned pale and immediately stood up to pull me inside. "Jojo, go to your room for now." "Wait," a gentle yet firm woman's voice cut in. "I believe the person involved has the right to know about this matter," my father said with a stern expression, his tone resolute. "She's still young. We have every right to decide about her marriage." The elegant woman smiled softly and looked at me gently. "Mr. Su, young women these days have far more say in their lives than we did back then, especially when it comes to something as important as marriage." The moment I heard this, I immediately pulled my hand from my mother's grasp and hurried over to sit beside my father. "Since we're discussing my marriage, I have every right to know." The elegant woman's smile grew more sincere. "Very well, I'll speak plainly. You may call me Auntie Zhu. My younger brother Yunxian was recently in a car accident and remains unconscious. My father, who dotes on him, wishes to find him a wife who will provide devoted care. After all, no nurse or caretaker, no matter how professional, can match the tenderness of a spouse." I feigned confusion and asked directly, "Why me?" "I won't hide it from you," Auntie Zhu said with disarming honesty. "My father puts great stock in these things. The abbot of Lingyin Temple did a reading, said Yunchuan's destined benefactor would match your exact birth details and birthplace. We've searched far and wide before finding you here." After a moment's contemplation, I asked the crucial question, "If he wakes up but doesn't like me, can I get a divorce?" "Absolutely," Auntie Zhu replied without hesitation. "Our Zhu family believes in reason above all. We'd never force anyone. When that time comes, you'll receive generous compensation and we'll see you off with full honors." "Okay," I nodded. "I'm willing to marry him." "Chiao Chiao, what nonsense are you saying?" My parents instantly panicked. My mother moved to cover my mouth. A child's thoughtless words don't count. Aunt Zhu ignored my parents' protests, looking at me with solemn eyes as she confirmed again, "Sunan Chiao, think carefully. If my brother never wakes up, you might have to care for him your whole life. If he unfortunately passes early, according to tradition, as his widow you wouldn't be permitted to remarry. This isn't a game." I gently pushed my mother's hand away, turned to my parents, and gave them an unwavering look. "Dad, Mom, I know what I'm doing. I'm not a child anymore." 10. They will never know that the daughter sitting before them now has a soul clawed back from hell. In my past life, my parents exhausted their entire fortune to hire the best lawyers money could buy. But in the face of power and influence, all defenses proved utterly futile. I was still convicted of involuntary manslaughter, and with additional charges, sentenced to life imprisonment. I'll never forget how my parents' hair turned white overnight and their backs became stooped on the day of the verdict. They refused to give up, running around everywhere to appeal on my behalf, just trying to get justice for me. But the Luo family had no intention of letting my parents off the hook. In the end, they died in that so-called accidental car crash. I knew it was no accident. It was the Luo family's revenge against me. In this life, my parents are still alive and well. I will never allow the tragedy of my past life to repeat itself. even if it means plunging into the abyss or sacrificing my life. I will drag the entire Luo family down with me, otherwise, the tragedy that befell my family will only cycle back again, because I knew, Luo Wenzhou would definitely come back to haunt me. 11. My parents saw the resolute glint in my eyes and instantly crumpled. Auntie Zhu finally asked, "What are your terms?" I stepped forward, leaned close to her ear, and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear, enunciating each word clearly, "My condition is that I want the Luo family completely wiped out from Sioux City." Aunt Zhu's pupils contracted slightly as she gave me a meaningful look. "A grudge, as you command." My voice was ice cold. Without hesitation, she stood up. "Done. Any other demands, it's gone." She gave a slight nod and left decisively with her entourage, leaving my family and the entire room in utter silence. 12. "Madam, we've arrived." The bodyguard opened the car door for me, his low voice pulling me out of my reverie. I composed myself, stepped out of the car, and walked straight toward the secluded villa on the east side of the estate. The first time I saw Zhu Yunxian, even while he lay unconscious, I was struck by his astonishing beauty. A gentleman of peerless elegance, like jade rare and fine. Our marriage was never announced publicly, but we did legally obtain our marriage certificate. The betrothal gifts from the Zhu family came with an itemized list over a foot long when unfolded, and their staggering value was downright jaw-dropping. My parents held that gilded list with trembling hands, almost too awestruck to accept it. It's been a week since I married into the Zhu family, and it all still feels surreal. Like a dream I can't quite believe. The Luo family, who once crushed us and left us gasping for breath, now seems as insignificant as an ant that could be effortlessly crushed under the colossal weight of the Zhu family's influence. Zhu Yizhi, the formidable eldest son of the Zhu family known for his decisive nature, once asked me point blank, "How do you want the Luo family to meet their end, a swift death, or a slow, agonizing demise?" I froze for a moment before the chilling realization set in, with hatred and cold dread seeping deep into my bones. "Make it slow. I will strip them of everything they hold dear, piece by piece, letting them rot in fear and despair, making them suffer even a fraction of the agony I endured in my past life." Upon hearing this, Zhu Yizhi simply gave a slight nod without further comment, as if it were just a trivial matter. He only instructed me, "Take good care of Yunxian. Don't worry about the Luo family's affairs anymore. I'll give you a satisfactory resolution." 13. While giving Zhu Yunxian his daily full-body massage, I hadn't even finished before breaking into a light sweat myself from the exertion. After washing up, I settled into the recliner by his bedside as usual and read him a book. His bedroom connects to a massive study, though I enter it daily. I'm still struck by the walls covered in trophies and certificates, silent testaments to his remarkable past. Zhu Yunxian graduated from university at 16. By his sophomore year, he had already secured a position at the National Research Institute through his exceptional intellect, a true prodigy destined for greatness. Feeling weary from reading, I set the book aside and gazed at his serene, flawless profile. Almost involuntarily, I leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to his cool lips. After the act, I froze for a moment, then chuckled softly at my own impulsiveness. Someone as brilliant and radiant as the moon had now become my husband, if not now, when, I feared that once he woke up, I'd never get another chance. I'd already checked around, there were no close female companions in his life. I'd also looked carefully around his study and found no trace of any woman's presence. Otherwise, I would never have dared to steal such an intimate moment. My gaze accidentally swept over the delicate collarbone beneath his pajamas, making my cheeks flush as I recalled the awkwardness of bathing him for the first time, and then, the unexpectedly imposing sight that contrasted sharply with his refined features. Even later, when his body reacted unconsciously, it was I who blushed and helped him with trembling hands. I've kept this matter strictly confidential, never breathing a word of it to anyone. I've been caring for him with all my heart, yet I don't know if he'll ever wake up in this lifetime, but deep down, I truly hope he regains consciousness. Someone so exceptional shouldn't fade away so tragically. He deserves to keep shining and live out the extraordinary life he was meant to have. 14. Every morning, I would place a fresh bouquet of flowers in Zhu Yunxuan's bedroom and sit by his bedside, chattering away about little everyday things. That day, Zhu Yizhi, the eldest brother of the Zhu family, came to visit Zhu Yunxian. Standing by the bed, he told me matter-of-factly, "The Zhu family has put out the word that the Luo family has crossed us." He paused, as if mentioning some trivial matter. "Now, the Luo family's business partners are cutting ties one after another, banks are calling in loans, and their stocks are plummeting, heading straight for a crash. Old Mr. Luo is beside himself with worry. They say his hair has turned mostly white. After discussing the Luo family's recent situation, he glanced at the still sleeping Zhu Yunxian and prepared to leave. "Big brother," I called out to him instinctively. Zhu Yixi stopped in his tracks and turned back with a questioning look. My heart raced slightly, palms growing damp with sweat. After a moment's hesitation, I finally spoke up. "Big brother, are you planning to bid against the Wang family for that plot of land in the West District?" Zhu Yixi's gaze sharpened instantly. He remained silent, watching me intently as he waited for me to continue. I took a deep breath, my tone turning deadly serious. "You must not bid on that land, no matter how promising it seems or how tempting the insider information appears. Stay away from it completely." In my previous life, both the Zhu and Wang families had received insider tips about the national plan to build a high-speed rail station in the west side of the city. The two families fought tooth and nail over the project, with the Zhu family ultimately winning the bid at an exorbitant cost. In the end, the government's final plan was set in the southern part of the city. The Zhu family's cash flow broke as a result, suffering devastating losses, while the Wang family seized the opportunity to rise and overtake them in one fell swoop. I absolutely cannot let the Zhu family repeat the same mistakes and fall to second place in Sioux City. My grand plan for revenge must not encounter any setbacks. Zhu Yixi's penetrating gaze lingered on my face for a long moment, as if trying to discern the truth and intention behind my words. In the end, he said nothing, merely giving a slight nod before turning to leave. My mind was in turmoil, uncertain whether he actually believed me or simply dismissed it as nonsense. If he didn't believe me, I need to come up with another plan quickly. 15. Just as I was racking my brains trying to figure out how to persuade Zhu Yixi, the butler approached me respectfully and said, "Young madam, the Wang family has won the bid for the land in the west of the city." He then added, "The young master asked me to tell you, I hope your judgment won't disappoint the Zhu family." As soon as the butler left, I nearly jumped for joy. An overwhelming sense of joy and relief washed over me. I hurried to Zhu Yunxuan's bedside and planted a firm kiss on his lips. "Did you hear that? Thank goodness we avoided that piece of land." Completely unaware, I failed to notice Zhu Yunxuan's finger twitch. My college class group chat suddenly blew up today, with countless messages tagging me. When I opened it, there was only one thing everyone was talking about: Luo Wenzhou and Lin Qian are together now. I just smiled faintly. Just as I thought, at the last class reunion, I caught that flicker of poorly concealed delight in Lin Qian's eyes when she heard about my breakup with Luo Wenzhou. Scrolling back through the messages, I pieced together the whole story. Turns out, the very night Lin Qian learned we'd broken up, she went home and insisted on divorcing her arranged marriage husband. But there's no way the Lin family would let her destroy such a crucial business alliance. In a desperate move, Lin Qian drugged Luo Wenzhou, and they were coincidentally caught in bed together. Lin Qian successfully divorced because of this, but Luo Wenzhou was disgusted, calling her shameless and disgusting, declaring that she deserved her fate and he would never marry her. However, an even more dramatic twist unfolded. Lin Qian was pregnant. How could the desperate Luo family, scrambling for a cash infusion, possibly let go of the Lin family, their financial lifeline? And so, Luo Wenzhou was forced to marry Lin Qian. 16. I received Luo Wenzhou and Lin Qian's gilded wedding invitation. I decided to give them a wedding gift they'd never forget. On my wedding day, I deliberately wore a vibrant crimson qipao, its fiery hue celebrating the opening act of my revenge. Just as expected, the moment I appeared, Luo Wenzhou's gaze kept drifting toward me. Even the priest stumbled over his vows during the ceremony, creating an awkward scene. Lin Qian, standing nearby in her pristine white gown, shot me a venomous glare that could devour me whole. I gave her a faint smile. When Luo Wenzhou was pursuing me, did she ever hold back from tripping me up both openly and behind the scenes? To this day, Luo Wenzhou's friends still hold a grudge against me, thanks largely to her tireless efforts in spreading rumors about me. Even worse, back in college, she spread vicious rumors that I was being kept by a wealthy businessman. If I hadn't stood my ground and threatened suicide to force the school to investigate and clear my name, I would have been crushed by the gossip and likely dropped out due to depression. The wedding ceremony proceeded like clockwork, eventually reaching the segment where they played the video chronicling how the couple met and fell in love. The massive screen lit up, but what appeared wasn't a sweet scene. Instead, surveillance footage of Luo's father entering private residences with various young women, even appearing as one happy family. Then the scene abruptly shifted to intimate footage of Luo's mother keeping a young male college student at an upscale club. The audience fell into dead silence, then erupted in uncontrollable gasps and hushed whispers. Luo Wenjo's face turned deathly pale, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The moment the footage appeared, Luo's parents turned ashen-faced and frantically screamed at the staff, "Turn it off. Shut it down now." Seated calmly among the guests, I gently swirled my champagne glass while coldly thinking to myself, "Luo Wenjo, how does your family like this wedding gift? Don't worry, this is just a small taste of what's to come." 17. When I returned to the Zhu Manor, I found everyone gathered outside Zhu Yunxuan's room, the atmosphere heavy and strangely tense. My heart sank, and I immediately pushed through the crowd to rush inside. To my surprise, I saw Zhu Yunxian propped up against the headboard, though his face was pale. His eyes were clear and bright, gazing around with the dazed confusion of someone just waking up. The Zhu family gathered around the bedside, each overcome with tears of joy. The elderly Mr. Zhu clutched his hand tightly, tears streaming down his weathered face as he repeated, "You're awake, that's all that matters." Witnessing this heartwarming scene, I instinctively slowed my steps and prepared to slip away quietly, giving the family their moment. Just as I was about to exit the room, a hoarse yet clear voice called out, "Honey, where are you going?" I froze in place, every eye in the room suddenly fixed on me, their gazes a mix of surprise and suggestive curiosity. I turned around awkwardly, not knowing what to do with my hands and feet. Seeing this, old Master Zhu quickly wiped his tears, suppressing a smile as he declared, all right, everyone out, let Yunxian and Nanqiao have some time to talk privately." The crowd filed out with good-natured laughter and hushed whispers, thoughtfully closing the door behind them. The room suddenly held only the two of us. I hung my head, staring at the carpet pattern so intently I could almost burn a hole through it. Zhu Yunxian looked at my ostrich-like demeanor and let out a soft chuckle, his voice raspy from disuse. "Now that I'm awake, you're scared. Weren't you bold enough to steal kisses, whisper secrets? And even when I was in a coma?" I jolted my head up in shock. You were conscious this whole time." He rolled his eyes slightly, a hint of teasing in his tone. "I was just paralyzed, not dead." Then I'll help you." My cheeks instantly flushed crimson, my toes curling in my shoes from embarrassment, my words stumbling into incoherence. "Help you with what?" He pressed on deliberately, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "You know, that thing." I was so embarrassed I wished the ground would swallow me whole. "Which one?" He seemed determined to tease me, insisting I say it out loud myself. Driven to the edge, I squeezed my eyes shut and blurted out, "I mean using my hand to help you relieve yourself. Can't you feel it too?" After shouting, my entire face flushed bright red, and I didn't dare open my eyes to look at him. The room fell silent for a few seconds. Then, I heard his infuriating voice laced with amusement. "Sunanqiao, why don't you take a look behind you first, huh?" I opened my eyes in confusion and turned my head. The door had been pushed open to reveal a significant gap, and several family members led by the eldest Zhu brother stood dumbfounded at the entrance, having clearly heard my earth-shattering outburst. "Is there a mouse hole somewhere? I just want to crawl in and hide." 18. Zhu Yunxuan's awakening gave me the freedom to carry out my final revenge against the Luo family without any reservations. Step 1. Destroy their spirit. I barged into the Luo residence with my bodyguards in tow. The bodyguards ruthlessly forced Luo's parents to their knees, pinning them to the ground before me. "Sunanqiao, what do you think you're doing? This is trespassing." "Just you wait." Luo's mother's shrill curses were abruptly cut short. With just a glance from me, the bodyguard behind me delivered a sharp backhand slap across her face, snapping her head to the side and silencing her instantly. I leaned in slightly, my gaze fixed on Mr. Luo's livid face, and said mockingly, "Mr. Luo, if you want to blame anyone, blame yourself for marrying such a wonderful wife. I may not have many virtues, but I do hold a grudge like no other. I never forgot for a second how your esteemed wife insulted me with her money. Now that the tables have turned, it's only fair I return the favor." As soon as the words left my mouth, the bodyguard slammed a thick stack of documents in front of Mr. Luo, revealing how Mrs. Luo had been secretly siphoning off the family's last remaining assets, planning to run away with her lover. Almost simultaneously, another file was thrown at the couple, detailing all of Mr. Luo's illegitimate children abroad, along with proof that each of them held significant shares in the Luo family business, with just one glance. Mr. Luo's eyes turned bloodshot, veins bulging on his forehead. He slapped Mrs. Luo hard across the face and roared, "You treacherous money-grabbing whore, squandering our fortune on your filthy affair." Stunned by the blow, Luo's mother snapped completely upon seeing the evidence of his illegitimate children. She shrieked and lunged at him, raking her nails across his face. "How dare you hit me? You're the one who's been raising all these bastards behind my back. What about Wen Zhou? How could you do this to him? And you have the nerve to criticize me?" Despair and rage consumed them entirely, like two rabid dogs. They tore into each other with vicious curses, blows, and bites on the cold floor, shredding the last vestiges of dignity between them. I watched the whole spectacle unfold with cold detachment. The taste of power is truly intoxicating. 19. Step 2. The Reckoning. Standing in the shadows of the street corner, I watched coldly as a group of thugs repeatedly smashed iron rods against Luo Wenzhou's legs. The dull crunch of shattering bones and his piercing screams were eerily satisfying in the night air. This scene feels all too familiar. In my past life, I was floating in the air, watching helplessly as my brother's legs were broken like this. All I could do was weep in despair, powerless to change anything. Now, the roles are reversed. I'd become the one holding the chess pieces. Luo Wenzhou was dragged and dumped like trash onto the steps of the Luo family villa. Scattered alongside him were explicit photos of Lin Qian intimately entangled with various men in compromising situations, graphic and utterly disgraceful. I want him to face this bitter, painful truth. He has been nothing but a laughingstock from start to finish. In my past life, if he hadn't selfishly jumped out of the car for his so-called deep love, how could my family have suffered such a catastrophe, ending up broken and destroyed? He is the root of all this tragedy. How could I possibly let him off the hook? Breaking his leg is just the first installment of payback. Complete psychological destruction is the most fitting punishment for him. 20. Step 3. Annihilation. The apartment where Lin Qian lived erupted in flames one night due to a gas leak, consuming both her and her unborn child in the inferno. Just like my sister-in-law in my past life, she was burned alive amidst endless agony and despair. I made a special trip to pay my respects. I saw Luo Wenzhou sitting in a wheelchair with hollow, desperate eyes, alongside his parents who seemed to have aged 20 years overnight. The profound grief on their faces made the corners of my mouth twitch upward uncontrollably. "Su Nanqiao, what are you doing here? Get out. Are you here to mock the Luo family?" The moment Mrs. Luo saw me, she completely lost control, screaming and lunging forward to drive me away. I immediately put on a perfectly measured expression of sorrow, my voice tinged with hurt. "Auntie, how could you think that? Lin Qian's sudden passing has been heartbreaking for me too. As her old classmate, can't I come to pay my final respects? Since I'm not welcome here, I'll just leave." With that, I turned and walked away without hesitation. After all, I had already witnessed the tragedy I wanted to see. 21. Luo's parents likely sensed something was wrong and attempted to flee abroad. However, their vehicle suffered brake failure, crashing through the guardrail at high speed before tumbling down a steep cliff. The fuel tank exploded instantly, engulfing them completely in the towering inferno. The scene bore an uncanny resemblance to the accidental car crash they had meticulously orchestrated for my parents in their previous life. I stood on the highest balcony of the Zhu Manor, overlooking the sea of twinkling lights from Sioux City. The bodyguard just reported that Luo Wenzhou, unable to bear the thought of begging for survival, ended his once glorious yet pitiful existence with a shard of glass in a filthy alley of the slums. The evening breeze gently lifted my hair, bringing not ecstasy but a profound calm. Zhu Yunxian walked to my side and silently draped a shawl over my shoulders. "Is it all over?" His voice melted into the wind. I murmured in response, my gaze still fixed on the horizon where the colossal entity known as the Luo family once stood. Now completely erased from existence, I leveraged every resource at my disposal and sacrificed everything I had to give. At last, I brought this blood-soaked cycle, born from his death and perpetuated by the destruction of my family, to a close with my own hands. Every second of my rebirth has led to this moment of final resolution. The Luo family, this is the price you must pay. 22. After mailing the signed divorce papers to Zhu Yunxian, I vanished from his world without a single word. A man like him, pure, noble, and composed, is like the radiant moon hanging high in the heavens, deserving of the most genuine love and a complete life. And I, a demon clawing my way back from hell, am stained with blood and burdened by sin. This vengeance has long hollowed out my soul, leaving no trace of warmth. our marriage began with exploitation, and it should end in estrangement. This is the last thing I can do for him. Leaving him undisturbed is the final kindness I can offer. Story 2. The childhood friend who grew up in our family was selected by the factory for overseas training this year, but his first love tried to drug him with spiked alcohol to make him miss this opportunity and stay. I couldn't bear to see everyone's hopes for him dashed, so I told our parents the truth. Our parents were furious and reported it to the police. His first love was arrested and hanged herself. Unable to bear the slander, the childhood friend who later achieved fame blamed it all on me, taking revenge that left my entire family dead. Given a second chance at life, I watched coldly as he spiraled downward while his rival rose to prominence with a dazzling future. At the factory gate, Li Zhongfeng strutted past wearing an award ribbon, brimming with pride. Li Zhongfeng is so handsome, growing up with him since childhood. You really hit the jackpot. Wang Li said to me with a suggestive wink. In my past life, I naively believed Li Zhongfeng and I were destined to be together. On my 18th birthday, I mustered the courage to ask him to take a commemorative photo with me, but he impatiently turned me down. My parents scolded me for being inconsiderate and disrupting his preparations for the overseas interview, but that night, when I impulsively decided to bring Li Zhongfeng some midnight snacks, I saw him holding Chen Lan's hand in the factory dormitory, writing sweet vows on an imported photo paper. Once Li Zhongfeng returns from abroad, Qinghe, you'll become a wealthy lady. Wang Li's teasing remark snapped me out of my memories. A wealthy madam. As the daughter of the county academy's headmaster, I never knew hardship growing up and cared little for vanity, but I couldn't bear to see Li Zhongfeng's decade of diligent study come to nothing, so I, who never believed in fate, found myself praying for a protective charm at the temple. On the morning of the interview, hoping for good luck, I went out at dawn to buy a celebratory cake. As I cheerfully carried it home, I spotted Chen Lan by the bike shed, where she shouldn't have been, whispering furtively with a man. Does this drug really work? Don't you worry, girl, everyone back home uses this stuff. It'll break even the strongest willpower. My face burned as I eavesdropped, initially thinking Chen Lan intended the medicine for her household pets. To my shock, Chen Lan snatched the package and declared, I don't care if he resists, I just need him to miss tomorrow's flight abroad. Well said. Once men go overseas, do they ever remember their families? The man leered toward our house, greed twisting his features as he crooned, just marry into the Lin family, and your dear brother here will live like a king. How much must that building be worth, sis? Once you marry Li Zhongfeng, our whole family can move in, right? Chen Lan said smugly. Absolutely, just wait for my good news when you get home. That brother-sister pair actually plans to harm Li Zhongfeng. I couldn't bear seeing Li Zhongfeng's future ruined by Chen Lan. After returning home, I revealed her and her brother's scheme to him, hoping he'd stay alert and avoid falling into Chen Lan's trap. Li Zhongfeng accused me of slandering Chen Lan out of jealousy, using such despicable means to tarnish her reputation. Left with no choice, I turned to my parents for help. Furious, my parents immediately called the police, who found drugs in Chen Lan's possession on the spot and took her away. Li Zhongfeng remained silent at the time, but the next day, she still passed the overseas qualification exam as scheduled. 3 years later, he returned from abroad with his degree and founded the county's first joint venture, becoming the youngest self-made millionaire. My parents were overjoyed, repeatedly saying their sacrifices had finally paid off. But that very year, Li Zhongfeng colluded with local thugs to ransack my father's academy under the pretense of cracking down on monopolies, leaving our family homeless. With his dying breath, he sneered while choking me. Lin Qinghe, you wretched woman, you drove Chen Lan to hang herself. You and your whole damn family should pay with your lives for her. Rot in the gutter where you belong. That rainy night in the abandoned factory, even after assaulting me, he wasn't satisfied. He had someone bring an iron rod and shattered all my limbs. Now reborn, I'll never meddle with that ungrateful wretch's fate again. Li Zhongfeng's parents abandoned him at home and never came back. He lived a hard life alone in the countryside, struggling to make ends meet. Yet he showed remarkable intelligence from childhood, memorizing the entire Xinhua dictionary by age 5. After he started school, my father, recalling their family connection, feared his talent would be wasted in rural poverty, so he arranged for the boy to be brought to our county town. Treating him like his own son, Dad enrolled him in the county's best tutoring program and provided only the finest food, clothing, and necessities. After sweeping first place in county and city-level competitions, this overseas opportunity was his final ticket to completely change his destiny. I'd made up my mind to let Li Zhongfeng follow his own path. No more meddling from me, not even half a step further. On interview day, Dad had the driver polish the car to a mirror shine at dawn, waiting cheerfully in the courtyard. Before long, Mom came rushing in panic. Guoqiang, something terrible, Zhongfeng, he's gone missing. Dad thought he'd misheard. What do you mean, gone? I've searched the entire house. Checked the bathroom, the rooftop, but I can't find a trace of Zhongfeng. Dad's face went pale, and he swayed. I quickly stepped forward to steady him. Dad, don't worry, maybe he just went to the factory to report in early. He patted my hand. Qing is right. Alright, Lao Zhang, take a few colleagues and thoroughly search the neighborhood again. Shaoli, ride your motorcycle to Zhongfeng's usual hangouts, check all his friends' places, go now. The search went on until the foreign VIP who came for the interview had already departed. When the driver finally leaned over and whispered something to Dad. What did you say? You saw it with your own eyes. The driver nodded with a grimace. It's absolutely true. Dean Lin, father stormed over with a group, his face livid. Seeing Qianlan cradled in Li Zhongfeng's arms, he raised his hand and struck without hesitation. Li Zhongfeng shielded Qianlan protectively behind him. Defiance written across his face. Uncle Lin, I was drunk and violated Qianlan's virtue. Blame me alone. Don't punish the innocent. Nonsense. Father exploded with rage. You were drunk and reckless, but that factory girl was stone cold sober. Why didn't she scream for help the whole time? She just watched you miss your interview and ruin your future. Zhongfeng, you've been played. Qianlan bit her lip hard, remaining silent while putting on an expression of extreme grievance. Seeing this, Li Zhongfeng said with tender concern, a girl's reputation means everything. She'd be too terrified to make a scene. Why would she scream? She's worried about her reputation. But do you realize that skipping the factory's selection process without reason is tantamount to deceiving the leadership? That's a serious offense. Li Zhongfeng had been sharp-witted since childhood. How could she not understand the gravity of the situation? Missing the interview was my mistake. I'll take full responsibility and won't drag Uncle Lin into this. The father, who had been holding himself together all this time, went pale and fainted upon hearing these words. I quickly steadied Dad and helped the driver bring him back home. Qinghe, Li Zhongfeng stopped me with guilt in his eyes. I know you've had feelings for me since childhood, but my heart already belongs to Qianlan. There's no room for anyone else, and I owe you an apology. I smiled faintly. You flatter me, brother Zhongfeng. Some people are all ambition but lack substance. When they meet their own kind, attraction is inevitable. Li Zhongfeng's face darkened instantly. Qianlan wore the aggrieved look of someone biting back anger. I was too naive back then, not understanding that relationships require social compatibility. In my past life, I too had resented why Li Zhongfeng became infatuated with Qianlan, a woman of low birth and no redeeming qualities. Now I finally see things clearly. Isn't Li Zhongfeng's journey from the countryside to the county town, with her humble status yet restless ambition, just like factory worker Qianlan's story, compared to someone like me who only offers silent sympathy without truly understanding? They're naturally more kindred spirits. Anticipating trouble, I'd already arranged for a county hospital doctor to stand by at home, and now, it's finally proving useful. Good thing Miss Lin had the foresight to call me in for this shift. Otherwise your father would have been in real danger this time. I stood by my father's bedside, head bowed. Foresight, no, I'd simply finally seen Li Zhongfeng for who she really was. My mother held my hand, gazing at my unconscious father, tears streaming down her face. After Dad woke up, Li Zhongfeng, who had been missing for so long, finally showed up. But he didn't come to apologize. Instead, Uncle Lin, I beg you, please give your blessing for me to marry Qianlan. Dad thought he must have misheard and pressed Li Zhongfeng for confirmation several times. You want to marry her? Uncle Lin heard right. I, Li Zhongfeng, swear I'll marry no one but Qianlan in this lifetime. Mom wiped her tears, trembling with rage. Have you lost your mind? Qianlan fell to her knees with a thud, tearfully pleading. I belong to Zhongfeng now. If I can't marry him, I'd rather die. Between the lines, she kept insisting on a proper marriage arrangement while deftly shifting all blame onto Li Zhongfeng. It was Li Zhongfeng who ruined her virtue. She did absolutely nothing wrong. How dare this swindler make a scene here? Old Zhang, call the police, have her taken away. Li Zhongfeng clutched Qianlan tightly and shouted at his mother in agitation. Aunt Zhang never treated me as family. Tell me, if I were your biological son, would you treat his beloved this way? How ridiculous. Everyone in the Lin household knew that Zhang Fengli felt more like the family's true child than I, their actual daughter. After he moved in, Mother would specially arrange the kitchen to prepare his favorite dishes and seasonal fruits for every meal. While I might not get them daily, Zhang Fengli's portion was never missing. Even when he just had a slight cold or fever, Father would take leave from work to stay by his bedside around the clock. Dad spoiled him rotten. 4 years he never lifted a finger at home, had everything handed to him on a silver platter, living more comfortably than me, his own flesh and blood, and in the end, he repaid kindness with betrayal. What else can you call such a person but an ungrateful wretch? Mom nearly fainted from sheer rage. I tugged at Mom's sleeve and whispered, "Mom, let it go. The interview's over. Even if you drag her in now, Zhang Fengli won't get his overseas opportunity back." Twisting the knife in Zhang Fengli's wounds, I added, "Besides, you and Dad are just his adoptive parents. You can control him temporarily, but can you really control him forever? Why not give them your blessing? Let him move out with Lan Chen." Hearing my suggestion about them moving out, Lan Chen visibly panicked. "Miss Lin, I don't mind if you're jealous and want to kick me out, but Zhang Fengli grew up with you. No matter how angry you are, you shouldn't drive him away too." She claimed to have Zhang Feng's best interests at heart, but really, she was just afraid of living in hardship if they moved out. Father wouldn't allow it either. How could he watch the child he poured his heart into raising throw away his future like this? He propped himself up, his body weak, and looked at Li Zhangfeng, speaking earnestly. "Have you ever considered that to achieve something and establish yourself in society, you'll need a well-bred wife to help you manage your social connections?" He glanced dismissively at Qianlan. "But this girl's entire family are idle, good-for-nothing commoners. They won't just be no help to your future, they'll only drag you down." Li Zhangfeng's eyes flickered, clearly showing some wavering. Seeing Qianlan in tears, he stubbornly insisted, "I don't care about any of this." Clenching his fists, Father finally sighed deeply and said, "Fine, have it your way then. Have you lost your mind? How could you let Zhangfeng run wild like this?" After Li Zhangfeng left, Mother was so frantic she kept stamping her feet. I poured Dad a glass of warm water and reassured Mom, "Don't worry, Dad must have his reasons." Dad patted my hand gratefully. "Our Qinghe always understands her father best. People only mature through hardship. Since he's made up his mind, let him learn life's lessons the hard way. He'll come around eventually." On the day Li Zhangfeng and Qianlan moved out, I personally handed Qianlan her factory employment records. "As of today, you're no longer part of our factory and have no ties to the Lin family whatsoever. Your marital life from now on depends entirely on your own choices and efforts." Qianlan took the file and leafed through it repeatedly. With her limited education, I couldn't understand what she was checking for, so I asked, "What exactly are you looking for?" "I've already had accounting settle Qianlan's rightful wages, and all the clothes we previously gave her were packed for her to take. I can't think of anything else we owe her." Qianlan suddenly glared at me and said resentfully, "Li Zhangfeng grew up in your household. Now that he's starting his own family and career, shouldn't Dean Lin offer some support?" It finally dawned on me, they were blaming my parents for not giving them settlement money. Though Li Zhangfeng stood silently beside her, the dissatisfaction in his eyes made it clear he shared the same sentiment. Humph. What an ungrateful wretch. China's marriage law clearly states that children have a legal obligation to support their parents. Filial piety isn't optional, it's the law. Violators face legal consequences. Am I right, Li Zhangfeng? He frowned impatiently. "So what? Get to the point." I smiled faintly. "Since you're so well versed in the law, perhaps you could tell me which statute requires adoptive parents to buy their children houses, fund weddings, and support them for life." "What's this? Treating my parents like ATMs?" My sarcasm made Li Zhangfeng's face turn pale then flush with embarrassment. "It was you who insisted on bringing him from the countryside to town, just because he seemed bright. Since you brought him here, you should take full responsibility." "So that's what they really thought. My parents only brought you to town for schooling, providing living and study arrangements. It's not formal adoption. You're free to return to the countryside anytime you wish." My missing uncle and aunt had defied family warnings back then, eloping after conceiving a child in secret. They abandoned their elderly parents without a single word since. Like father, like son. Li Zhangfeng mastered ingratitude at such a young age. "Qianlan, don't grovel before her. If I've got what it takes, I'll make my mark sooner or later." "Oh really? Well, I'll wish you success in advance then." Without my family's support, Li Zhangfeng would struggle to cover even basic living expenses, but to my surprise, Barely 2 weeks later, a stranger was knocking at my front door. The man was dressed in rags, disheveled, clearly from the lowest rung of society, his small eyes greedily surveying my yard. When the driver stopped him from entering, he squatted right by my front gate and burst into loud sobs. "This is where my relatives live. What right do you have to stop me from going in? Come see this injustice. Neighbors, Dean Lin is bullying us with his power. The boy he raised ruined my sister's virtue, and now they won't even let me through their gate. My beautiful young sister had her heart broken by that family for nothing." His shameless behavior quickly drew a crowd of onlookers. I recognized him immediately. It was Chen San, Chen Lan's good-for-nothing brother. If we let this kind of person in, they'll surely spread malicious rumors about our family everywhere. I immediately blocked him at the door. My father has always been aboveboard. There's nothing he can't say openly. Let's settle this right here in front of everyone and let the crowd judge who's in the wrong. As soon as I finished speaking, the onlookers all nodded in agreement. Miss Lin is absolutely right. Dean Lin has an impeccable reputation in our county, fair and just in all matters. You may speak freely here. Qian San glared at me viciously and hissed through gritted teeth. Fine, since you insist, I'll lay it all out right here. Don't say I didn't warn you, Miss Lin. My brother-in-law had living parents, but that old fox Lin Guiqiang snatched him away just because he saw potential in the boy, ripped him straight from his birth family's arms. Not only was he torn from his parents for over a decade, the Lin family constantly abused him and treated him like a servant. Now, just because he missed an opportunity to study abroad, they heartlessly kicked him out of the house. Everyone, judge for yourselves. Is there any family that repays kindness with malice and burns bridges like this? The onlookers gasped in disbelief. I can't believe Dean Lin is like that behind closed doors, I calmly replied. First of all, Li Zhongfeng was indeed born in the countryside. See, she admitted it. Qian San laughed triumphantly. Some people in the crowd immediately showed pity upon hearing the word countryside. The rural conditions are so poor, it's even hard for children to get an education there. I continued along with their sentiment. Exactly, as we all know, life in the countryside is tough, and educational resources are scarce. My father saw Li Zhongfeng's exceptional talent and couldn't bear to see him wasted in the countryside, so he brought him to the county town. My father only wanted to provide him with a good learning environment and better education. As for abuse, that's absolutely out of the question. Any of our neighbors or workers can vouch for us. Qian San snapped furiously. Your family would naturally take your side. At this moment, a neatly dressed young man stepped forward. I'm Li Zhongfeng's co-worker, Zhou Qingxi. I can testify for Miss Lin that Li Zhongfeng wears designer clothes and has fair, delicate skin. There's not a single sign of mistreatment. It's clearly you who's spreading malicious rumors about Dean Lin with ulterior motives. I nodded gratefully. Thank you, Zhou, for speaking the truth. Qian San still tried to argue. Now that he's starting a family, shouldn't you buy him a house, to give my sister a proper place to live? No. We shouldn't, I said firmly. Li Zhongfeng was willing to give up his overseas opportunity just to marry your sister, swearing he's a real man who can support his wife single-handedly. If he's so determined to stand on his own feet, why are you asking my parents to keep supporting them? Are you trying to undermine his dignity? The crowd was stunned when they heard Li Zhongfeng had abandoned his state-sponsored study abroad opportunity for Chen Lan. A bespectacled man in the crowd scoffed. I thought Li Zhongfeng had some extraordinary reason for missing the interview. Turns out it was just for a woman. How many of us would kill for a chance to study abroad and polish our credentials? Yet this ingrate squandered state resources and betrayed Dean Lin's decades of mentorship. What an ungrateful wretch. How dare this backstabbing snake have the gall to ask the Lin family for house money? The sheer shamelessness. Working at the same factory as him makes my skin crawl. His impassioned speech drew thunderous applause. Here, we all despise such thankless scum. Qian San saw the tide turning and made himself scarce long ago. After the crowd dispersed, I sincerely thanked Zhou Qingxi. Thank you for speaking up for justice, Comrade Zhou. I'm truly grateful. He waved it off with a smile. Don't mention it. I just couldn't stand seeing them bully decent folks. Besides, Miss Lin remained remarkably composed under pressure, so articulate and clear-headed. You're truly exceptional. Hardly. I've just faced life and death once, so I'm not as timid as I used to be. You flatter me, Zhou. I'm just trying to keep my own household in order. Managing a family well is no easier than making your way in the world. I'd simply spoken my mind, but at the factory gate, Zhou Qingxi gazed at me thoughtfully, his eyes burning with intensity. Soon came the day when the admission list was posted. Li Zhongfeng didn't go to the interview. And our family had no interest in joining the commotion either. The list of people going abroad is posted on the factory building. Today it's just for public viewing. There's nothing special for us to see by going there. Wang Li, however, stubbornly dragged me out of the house. Who cares about some list? I want to see all the young guys from our factory. The Jinyu commercial building was right across from the factory. Wang Li and I sat in a small restaurant on the second floor, ordering 2 milk teas and a few pastries, watching the bustling crowd below in silence. This year's study abroad list is quite the spectacle. The factory's 2 top technicians competing for the sole overseas opportunity. Let's see who comes out on top. Wang Li muttered under her breath. These folks probably don't know your Li Zhongfeng missed the interview yet. What a shame. Only the factory management knows the selection results. The workers outside remain unaware of the actual situation. No sooner had she spoken than she nudged my arm. Look who's over there. Across the street stood Li Zhongfeng and Chen Lan. Unmistakably, Chen Lan was carrying a grocery basket, apparently out shopping when she happened to pass by, seeing the crowd gathered at the factory gate. Li Zhongfeng's face darkened as he quickened his pace to leave. Isn't that technician Li? The list is about to be announced. Perfect timing for your arrival. Just as Li Zhongfeng was about to decline this so-called kindness, the crowd in front of the bulletin board suddenly erupted in commotion. Spring 1984 Overseas Study Opportunity, Zhou Qingxi. The worker froze, meeting Li Zhongfeng's icy glare, then muttered awkwardly, "Why wasn't technician Li selected?" No wonder Li Zhongfeng looked so upset. Though Zhou Qingxi worked with him in the technical department, neither would ever yield to the other. They clashed at work and fought tooth and nail in private for the factory's outstanding producer title. For Li Zhongfeng, anyone else getting this opportunity would have been bearable. Zhou Qingxi being the sole selection left him green with envy, tossing and turning in agony all night. Li Zhongfeng coldly shook off the hand, her retreating figure betraying undisguised anguish in that fleeting glance. Chen Lan approached just in time to witness his crestfallen state. Wang Li nudged me excitedly. Look, the drama's about to begin. Tears welled up in Chen Lan's eyes as she gazed at Li Zhongfeng with wounded innocence. Zhongfeng, are you upset with me? Li Zhongfeng clenched his fists, struggling to contain his emotions before finally reaching out to gently tuck a wind-tousled strand of Chen Lan's hair behind her ear. Don't be ridiculous. Even without going abroad, my future accomplishments won't necessarily pale in comparison to theirs. Wang Li clicked her tongue in astonishment. Well, I'll be damned. So this is Li Zhongfeng's weak spot. I couldn't care less about his personal affairs. The factory management previously overlooked his unexplained absence from the national selection because they were preoccupied with candidate screening. Now that the final list is published, I fear our family may face repercussions. I rushed home in a hurry and told my father about the situation. Dad scoffed. If the factory management really wanted to hold someone accountable, why wait until now? It was Zhou Qingxi, the newly elected representative, who pleaded for our family. The reasonable leadership recognized we were also victims in this Zhongfeng Li situation, so they let it slide. Dad's always been fair-minded, and with Zhou Qingxi's intervention, we managed to avoid trouble. But Zhongfeng Li, what a pity for Zhongfeng. Father sighed. Promotion seems forever out of his reach now. The punishment was actually lenient, just revoking his promotion eligibility despite wasting the factory's years of mentorship. But how many decades does one have to start over in life? Soon I had no time to dwell on it. Zhou Qingxi's mother came to propose marriage. Mom asked for my opinion. It's my fault. I always assumed you'd eventually marry. I never seriously considered your marriage prospects. She patted my hand with a smile. Your father and I think Zhou Qingxi is a fine match, comes from a respectable family, dependable character, with opportunities to study abroad. Half the girls at the factory have crushes on him, yet he's never shown interest. A man of loyalty and principle. Unlike that. Mom's face clouded with worry again at the mention of Li Zhongfeng. I set down the half-knitted sweater. I quite like Comrade Zhou too. He's open-minded and understanding, always respecting my thoughts and opinions, a rare quality in today's society. After the matchmaking gifts were exchanged, the wedding date was quickly settled. On that day of roaring drums and deafening firecrackers, I climbed into the wedding car wearing a red bridal veil. As the car started moving, a slender yet strong hand with distinct knuckles reached through the window, saying, "Here, sweetheart, have something sweet first." It was a chocolate candy. I took it and took a small bite, letting the sweet flavor melt between my lips and teeth. The wedding car hadn't gone far when it suddenly stopped. Outside, a cacophony of arguments erupted. Peeking through the curtains, I saw a dilapidated bicycle pulling a makeshift sedan chair, blocking the intersection with us, neither side willing to budge. Then I looked at Li Zhongfeng, though he was wearing a red groom's suit. It was wrinkled and lacked any luster. In just a few months, he had lost a lot of weight and his complexion was sallow. The wedding sedan behind him was shabby beyond belief, with patched-up curtains. Not a single decent dowry item followed the carriage. If not for Li Zhongfeng's groom attire, who'd guess this was a wedding? Li Zhongfeng seemed to sense being watched, locking eyes with me without pretense. I hastily dropped the curtain and smoothed my hair. After the wedding, Li Zhongfeng secretly came to see me. "Qinghe, why did you marry Zhou Qingxi? You know perfectly well he and I don't get along, why would you?" Not wanting to engage further, I brushed him off with, "He's a decent man, that's all that matters." Their mutual dislike suited me just fine. It meant I wouldn't have to see Li Zhongfeng often after marriage. How could you be so reckless with marriage, Qinghe? Tell me honestly, do you still have feelings for me? Are you rushing into this marriage just to get back at me and Chenlan? What shameless audacity!" I nearly vomited from disgust. When he saw me staring at him silently, he actually said, "Qinghe, I regret everything. I used to think missing this overseas opportunity was no big deal. After all, many master technicians in the factory became technical experts without ever going abroad." A faint, mocking smile played on my lips, my eyes filled with scorn. He'd always thought highly of himself, believing the world owed him everything. Why should everything and everyone revolve around him? Chenlan's house was a wreck, tiny, barely enough room to turn around, and the roof leaked when it rained. All the technical manuals I brought back from abroad were soaked. The next day, I was hoping to salvage them by putting them out to dry. The moment I got up, I saw Qian San selling those precious documents as scrap paper to the recycling station. Listening to his complaints, I couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. Those technical manuals that Li Zhongfeng guarded more fiercely than his own life, never even letting me flip through them, got sold as waste paper by that illiterate Qian San. What can you do about it? Didn't you choose Chenlan and her family yourself? But I regret it now. Qinghe, you saw me about to make a mistake. Why didn't you stop me? If you'd stopped me back then, I'd be the one studying abroad now, getting fast-tracked for promotion at the factory after returning, and marrying you would have been me too. How absurd. Didn't I stop him in my past life, only to be repaid with betrayal that got my whole family killed? He's blaming me just to avoid being labeled as heartless, making me the villain so he can have both career success and romantic happiness in the future. What a clever little scheme. But I've learned one thing: no good deed goes unpunished. Respect others' choices and rein in unnecessary pity. I pushed him away. Li Zhongfeng, you're mistaken. Whether you marry Chenlan or not has nothing to do with me. In this lifetime, whether he succeeds or fails, becomes wealthy or remains poor, none of it concerns our Lin family. On the homecoming day, though my parents greeted me with cheerful faces, their brows were shadowed by unspoken worry. Not wanting to ask too much in front of Zhou Qingxi, I took the opportunity to inquire when Mom showed me the new apartment. Mom said after Qian San realized Li Zhongfeng's technical manuals were valuable, instead of selling them as scrap paper, he offloaded the entire batch at a low price to a private factory he knew. He didn't spend the money on home repairs or groceries, let alone work supplies for Zhongfeng. Every penny went straight to the gambling dens. When Zhongfeng went to collect the debt, that bastard Qian San not only refused to pay, but called him a worthless good-for-nothing who couldn't earn money yet ate like a horse. To be fair, Li Zhongfeng was book-smart but practically useless at anything else. Not only did they hurl insults, they actually beat Zhongfeng senseless. That heartless Chenlan just stood there watching as her brother beat him half to death, even disfigured his face. Mom's eyes welled up as she spoke. Our factory policy prohibits workers with prominent facial scars from working on export production lines. That way, even if restrictions ease in 10 years, Li Zhongfeng won't be young anymore. I patted Mom's back gently and reassured her, not getting into foreign trade isn't the end of the world. As long as he's willing to work diligently, with his knowledge he could support himself as a technician or engineer. Mom immediately caught my implication. Qinghe, are you saying, Mom? I'll say it again, he's not your and Dad's biological child. You know what they say about never knowing what's in someone's heart. When everything was going his way, he showed no gratitude. Now, don't even bother expecting anything. My parents finally realized Li Zhongfeng was an ungrateful wretch and resolved to cut all ties with him completely. To everyone's shock, 3 months later, Li Zhongfeng showed up kneeling at our doorstep with the heavily pregnant Qianlan. With only mom home at the time, I worried she couldn't handle the situation. Zhou Qingxi immediately accompanied me back in haste after we got the news. In just a few months' absence, a scar stretching from Li Zhongfeng's brow to chin had disfigured his once handsome features beyond recognition. His jet-black hair was now streaked with silver, and the way he knelt there with a hunched back made it hard to believe he was barely past 20. Watching Zhou Qingxi carefully supporting me, Li Zhongfeng's eyes burned with jealousy and resentment. Before marriage, he'd always outshone Zhou Qingxi in every way, yet mere months later, while Zhou returned from abroad with boundless prospects, Li couldn't even afford decent clothes. How could a proud man like him not seethe with hatred? Qinghe, please put in a good word with Uncle Lin for me and Qianlan so we can move back home. If Uncle Lin hadn't been so strict back then, I wouldn't have rebelled and done such foolish things. I promise I'll never talk back to him again and will follow all his arrangements. Even now, he still doesn't realize his mistake. His words still carry that undertone of dad being too controlling. Sis Qinghe, with a sallow face, Qianlan spoke up, let bygones be bygones, we're family now, and the child in my womb will one day call you aunt. How convenient for her to claim kinship, too bad I want no part of it. When I remained silent, she shamelessly pressed on, Zhongfeng may never go abroad, but our child will fulfill his aspirations, getting into a top university and bringing honor to the Lin family. So you're saying our family is expected to cover their children's education expenses too? You and I were merely factory colleagues before, and now even that connection is gone. You'd better address me as Miss Lin from now on. As for Li Zhongfeng, you once claimed our Lin family was cold-hearted through and through, that only Qianlan looked past your background and genuinely cared for you, even secretly bringing you imported treats and useful items. But did it ever occur to you how an ordinary factory girl could have obtained those imported goods without my tacit approval? At my words, the faces of the two kneeling at my door contorted. Qianlan's face went ashen. She clearly hadn't expected that I knew all about her past affairs with Li Zhongfeng, yet had never exposed them, not even at the wedding. Now, with everything changed, I suddenly revealed her true colors. She shrieked in disbelief. How could you possibly know? No, that's impossible. Until my dying breath in my past life, I never understood why Li Zhongfeng chose Qianlan, plain as she was. When the factory was full of prettier girls, reborn, I watched closely and finally uncovered the dirty little secret. Li Zhongfeng glared at Qianlan, his voice razor sharp. Is what Qinghe said true? No, it's all lies. I saved up every single thing for you myself. The panic in her eyes betrayed her guilt. Li Zhongfeng, consumed with rage, slapped her hard across the face. You bitch, you've ruined my entire life. If you hadn't drugged my drink and seduced me, making me miss my chance to go abroad, I'd be a department head by now. I wouldn't be living hand to mouth like this, freezing my ass off without even a decent winter coat to my name. You destroyed my future, you destroyed my life. He lunged forward and seized Qianlan by the throat, his murderous glare identical to Li Zhongfeng's vicious assault on me in our past life. This place is too public. Li Zhongfeng, settle your scores at home. Before the words left my mouth, Qianlan let out a piercing scream as a pool of crimson spread beneath her. Li Zhongfeng's face turned ashen as he released his grip, shouting at me, get her inside now, call a doctor. Zhou Qingxi, who had been standing silently beside me, asked, should we let them in? This is literally a matter of life and death, but we're not responsible for Qianlan's premature labor. Li Zhongfeng brought this on herself. If I take pity and let them inside to call a doctor, and something happens to Qianlan or the baby, Li Zhongfeng would blame us for the rest of our lives. I shook my head. The woman who runs the pharmacy across the street is a midwife. Carry Qianlan over there now. It'll be much faster than waiting for a doctor here. But I still underestimated the depths of human cruelty. Li Zhongfeng watched Qianlan moan in agony, yet still insisted on using her and their unborn child to threaten me into letting them in. Qianlan, hang in there. If we can't find decent shelter for our child, we might as well not have it at all. Qinghe's too kind-hearted, she'd never leave us to die. What were they doing all this time? Did you never consider while having this child how that drafty shack of yours could possibly shelter them from the storm? The baby's almost here, and you've got nothing to your name. Now you dare threaten me. Li Zhongfeng, you've gone too far. Don't forget Qianlan's brother is a wanted man. If anything happens to her, what's left of your pretty face won't survive either. With that, I took Zhou Qingxi home, no matter how Li Zhongfeng pleaded or raged, my door would never open for him again. 5 days later, news arrived simultaneously of both Chen Lanqing's daughter and Li Zhongfeng hanging themselves. Father didn't say a word upon hearing it, aging visibly in an instant. After a long silence, he finally asked the messenger in a low voice, "Did he leave any last words?" The man replied with a strange expression, "Yes, the night before he hanged himself." He kept muttering deliriously about a dream where he returned from studying abroad and became factory director, kept rambling about how this life wasn't real. My parents didn't understand what she meant, dismissing it as the delirious ravings of a disturbed mind before death. Only I knew the truth. Li Zhongfeng's suicide likely came from remembering everything about her past life, waking to find reality so far removed from her dreams. She simply couldn't bear the crushing disappointment and chose to end it all. I don't know how many second chances life gives, but I'm certain that selfish, blame-shifting snakes like Li Zhongfeng will never have a happy ending, no matter how many times they're reborn. Zhou Qingxi came to take me home. As snowflakes began drifting down, I caught one in my palm, only for him to urgently tuck my hand into his coat pocket for warmth. "You're a mother now, yet still so childish. What if you catch a cold?" Laughing, I linked arms with him. "True, not a child anymore, but the mother of one." Zhou Qingxi lifted me up in joyful surprise. "Really, I'm going to be a father. Qinghe, you're heaven's greatest gift to me." You are too, reborn with him, our baby, and loving parents. This is the most precious gift life could give me." The end. Story 2. On Jiangchuan's birthday, I caught his female secretary sneaking into his office dressed in all black, carrying several ropes. Upon discovering this, I immediately warned her and called the police. The secretary fled in panic but accidentally fell to her death in the stairwell. Jiang Chuan suppressed this news, citing the company's reputation. 1 year later, on the night of our wedding, he blindfolded me, saying it was for a surprise. Yet he actually abandoned me at the very spot where his secretary had fallen to her death, which coincidentally was the anniversary of her passing. "You killed the woman I loved most, you deserve to die." Only then did I realize that he and his secretary were planning to roleplay that day, and so, on my wedding night, I was tortured to death by Jiang Chuan. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of his birthday. This time, I watched indifferently as the secretary went in. 1. Jiang Chuan looked at me with an apologetic expression, "And Nan, thank you for specially preparing this birthday party for me. So many long unseen friends came. I'm truly happy, but I had a late meeting last night and now have a slight headache. You go ahead and entertain them for me first. I'm going to take a quick nap and come back later." The exact same words as in the previous life, even the frowning expression and the tired gesture of rubbing his head were completely unchanged. The company had a team-building event yesterday, and they got the afternoon off directly, with no one in the office. What was he going to use to hold a meeting? In my past life, I loved him too much. The moment he said he was uncomfortable, my mind went blank, completely forgetting about the team-building holiday. When I remembered later, I still didn't suspect him. Occasionally, there were rumors at the company, but I ignored them outright, thinking those people were just gossiping nonsense. It wasn't until our wedding night that he took me to where Zhou Nana fell to her death and hung me up to torture me mercilessly. Listening to his gnashing curses and humiliations, I finally realized that night was their prearranged intimate game. Zhou Nana wasn't just his secretary, she was also his junior from university days. The two were inseparable. She'd even aborted 2 children for him, with promises to marry after graduation. But all this was conducted in secret. His parents didn't know, and neither did mine. Right after I graduated and returned to China, his parents arranged for us to meet. He had pursued me obsessively in his youth, saying I was the unattainable white moonlight of his dreams. He rented out the most bustling commercial building in the city center, spending millions just to confess his love to me. On my birthday, he lit up the entire sky with fireworks just to get me to accept his confession. It was also him who cried with snot and tears at the engagement banquet, promising to love me for a lifetime. Yet in his words, these incidents became my coercion, and I turned into the executioner who forced apart him and Zhou Nana, the loving couple. He loved my outstanding capabilities and how my family could help his family overcome difficulties, but he also loved Zhou Nana's innocence and cuteness, as well as her fiery passion in bed. Thank heavens for giving me a second chance at life. This time, I'll make him pay 1,000-fold, too, just like in my past life. I didn't expose him, and I showed the exact same worried expression as back then. "Didn't you promise me before that once the company goes public, you'd take care of your health and stop working overtime late into the night. Why are you still pushing yourself so hard? This is the last time. Don't let it happen again. Do you need me to take you back to your room to rest? I carefully observed Jiang Chuan's expression and movements. Just like in his previous life, he shook his head and refused. No need, just help me entertain these old friends. If I wake up early, I'll call you and we can arrange a late-night snack together. Indeed, rebirth isn't as common as cabbage. It seems I'm the only one who got reborn. I nodded with a smile. Okay, got it. You can rest easy. I've got everything under control here. Jiang Chuan exchanged greetings with a few close childhood friends before finally turning to go upstairs. Most of the people here were his best friends, with some being close business associates. Even if he was completely lust-driven, he knew better than to breach etiquette at a high-profile banquet like this. Jonana appeared to be chatting and laughing with those around her. In reality, her peripheral vision was entirely fixed on Jiang Chuan. The moment he left, she immediately went to the restroom and changed from her white gown into a black pantsuit. This time, I didn't follow out of concern. Instead, she smiled and tapped a spoon against a champagne glass, drawing everyone's attention in unison. Today, I'm delighted we've all gathered to celebrate Jiang Chuan's birthday. Unfortunately, due to his heavy workload recently, he's feeling unwell and has retired to his room to rest, but I prepared a romantic fireworks display for everyone. In 10 minutes, please follow me to the rooftop to enjoy the show. Instantly, everyone's eyes lit up with excitement. No one doesn't love romantic fireworks. In my past life, I also prepared fireworks, blue fireworks prepared half a year in advance at great expense, but in that past life, Jonana fell to her death. Although the news was suppressed, I couldn't bear it and cancelled the fireworks. In this lifetime, no matter who dies, the fireworks will go on. 3. The drama of catching an affair becomes livelier the more people watch. Just 2 minutes before I took everyone to the rooftop to see the fireworks, I frowned and said to the security captain, I think I just saw a man dressed all in black sneaking upstairs. The upstairs is H1's lounge, and confidential documents and materials are also stored there. Take your team to check it out. Watch out for corporate spies or kidnappers. This kind of thing is very common in the business world. The security captain immediately became serious and nodded. Miss, I'll take my team up to investigate immediately. I guarantee not even a fly could escape. I nodded in satisfaction. After seeing them upstairs, I adjusted my hair and dress, then gracefully led a group of friends to the rooftop to enjoy the fireworks. With so many people, the elevator would take several trips, so our group naturally took the spiral staircase up. Coincidentally, we saw security personnel in uniforms opening Jiang Chuan's room. A woman's moans immediately spilled out. Ah, Chuan Chuan, be gentler, I can't take it anymore. You're really bold. Your fiancé and best friend are downstairs, yet you dare to play cosplay with me. Aren't you afraid of getting caught? Jiang Chuan's voice was deep and somewhat excited. If you hadn't been so provocative, sending me that video without panties, would I be this desperate? What are you afraid of? They're all downstairs drinking and dancing. Song Anan will take good care of them for me. You'd better stop worrying about them and start worrying about yourself. My birthday wish is to fuck you to death, you slut. The soundproofing in the mansion was excellent, but that was only if the door remained closed. Once opened, the sounds inside would escape. Everyone had been chatting and laughing quietly, but upon hearing those sounds, they all fell silent, even their footsteps stopping. The security captain's hand pushing the door froze mid-air. Everyone turned to look at me in unison. At this moment, my acting skills reached God tier. First I stood frozen in place, then my hand clutching the skirt began trembling slightly, until finally my eyes turned completely red, biting her lip, as if muttering to herself, impossible, this is fake, it must be fake. With that, she broke into a jog and pushed open Jiang Chuan's door directly. Footsteps sounded behind as everyone else followed suit. Two pale figures were coupling in front of the mirror. The sight searing into my eyes, I screamed in fury, Jiang Chuan, Jonana. What are you two doing? 4. No wonder they didn't hear the commotion. The fragrance of incense filled the room as the soulful sound of saxophone music swirled through the air, creating an enchanting and emotional atmosphere. Jiang Chuan, who was in the midst of a sprint, suddenly raised his head upon hearing the noise and saw a large crowd standing at the doorway. Instantly, his vigor withered beneath him. He hastily picked up the clothes from the floor to cover Jonana. But there were none to be found, leaving him no choice but to pull the nearby curtain around their naked bodies. His voice trembled as he spoke, and, listen to me, this is all a misunderstanding. I quickly stepped forward and slapped him hard several times, instantly swelling his face. My freshly done nails also scratched the corner of his mouth, making him look pitiful and disheveled. I was trembling with rage. The facts are right in front of me. Do you think I'm blind, Jiang Chuan? Have you no conscience? When your company had financial problems, it was my parents who sold several plots of land and took out bank loans to revive your business. You said you hadn't seen old friends in a long time, so I contacted them 3 months in advance to prepare your birthday party, just to give you a surprise. In elementary and middle school, you wrote me love letters for 9 consecutive years. After I returned to China, you even publicly confessed and proposed, saying you loved me and dreamed of marrying me, yet we were only engaged for 6 months before you cheated. Are you even human? You're nothing but a beast. These words perfectly match what a mistress would say when catching someone cheating in public. Jiang Chuan hung his head, too ashamed to speak. Jiang Chuan's mother flushed red and spoke apologetically. Nan, Jiang Chuan was completely in the wrong here. He not only let you down but also made us lose face entirely. No matter how you choose to punish or scold him, it's justified, but don't let anger harm your health. I didn't respond, just kept my head down and wiped away tears incessantly. My mother held me in her arms, her heart aching for me, seeing that I hadn't expressed my stance. Jiang Chuan's mother knew the anger in my heart hadn't subsided. She couldn't bear to hit her own son, so she grabbed Zhou Nana's hair and slapped her hard, cursing while beating her. You knew my son was engaged, yet you still seduced him, you shameless slut. I know your type too well. Just after my son's money, willing to sell your body for it. I'll go ask your parents how they raised such a disgraceful daughter. Hearing this, Zhou Nana panicked. Don't tell my parents. Before she could finish speaking, Aunt Jiang slapped her several more times viciously. Jiang Chuan's lips trembled slightly, but in the end, he swallowed his plea. Thought he loved her so much. Turns out he's even more fragile than I imagined. What a spineless man. 5. Zhou Nana knew Aunt Jiang did all this just to appease me. Then suddenly, she dropped to her knees before me. Sister Annan, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I couldn't control my feelings and seduced President Jiang. But it was just an accident. I never meant to ruin your relationship. I'll resign tomorrow and promise never to appear before you again. Please beg Mrs. Jiang for mercy on my behalf and don't tell my parents. They're just simple rural folks who struggled to put me through college. If this gets back to our village, they won't be able to face people anymore, and I'll be disowned. You're a woman too, must you be so cruel? Because I'm usually very easygoing and approachable. So even the other woman can morally blackmail me now. Mom's face turned pale with anger as she scolded. What, does the other woman actually have a point now? Is she something special? If only you had considered that Jiang Chuan was already engaged back then, and hadn't done such things to seduce a married man, none of this would have happened today. Everyone must take responsibility for their own actions. Zhou Nana remained silent, only kowtowing desperately. They didn't stop this scene. Betting on my soft heart to forgive Jiang Chuan, my lips pressed tightly, brows slightly furrowed, appearing to struggle with hesitation while actually holding back laughter. For a mistress who knowingly becomes the other woman, I feel no pity. This is entirely self-inflicted. Only after admiring for quite a while did I slowly speak up. Stop kowtowing, I forgive you. As soon as the words landed, Zhou Nana stopped kowtowing, a slight smirk curling at the corners of her mouth. A glint of triumphant calculation flashed in Jiang Chuan's and his parents' eyes. They're betting on my kindness. My parents looked hesitant, though they didn't agree. They didn't stop me either. The greatest love they gave me was allowing me to be myself. Jiang Chuan couldn't wait to pledge his loyalty. And Nan, I swear I'll treat you well from now on, and I'll never betray you again. I forced a bitter smile and shook my head. No, I can no longer trust you. I feel like a complete joke. Tomorrow I'll announce in the papers that we're calling off the engagement. I'll return all the family stocks you gave me when we got engaged, and please return the seaside villa and luxury cars my family gifted you. I won't keep a single thing. Though our relationship is over, it won't affect our parents' friendship or the company's collaborative projects. Consider this the last thing I'll do for you. From now on, let's part ways amicably. With that, I turned and walked out. Dazzling fireworks erupted behind me, drowning out the voices of Jiang Chuan and his parents. Someone in the crowd started clapping first, followed by enthusiastic applause and cheers. The cheers and brilliant fireworks created a scene of utmost romance. They praised me for being loyal and decisive. 6. The next day, major newspapers all published the news of my cancelled engagement with Jiang Chuan. At the same time, I massively sold off shares of the Jiang Group. And many followed suit, mostly friends who witnessed their infidelity yesterday. They were Jiang Chuan's friends, but they had long become my friends as well. While he was draining my family's resources, I also appropriated his network of contacts for my own use, and what I said yesterday was quite impactful, painting him as an ungrateful traitor, the kind of person most despised in business collaborations. The once thriving Jiang Corporation stocks plummeted, losing $1.7 billion in market value that very day. Jiang Chuan couldn't sit still anymore and ordered 999 roses to be delivered to my office. And Nan, today marks our 3-year anniversary. I've reserved the revolving restaurant for a romantic candlelit dinner tonight. I remember you mentioning your grandmother likes jade Buddha heads. My mom searched through all the auction houses and her contacts, finally finding a top-quality emerald Buddha head with exceptional color and translucency. Your grandmother will love it. I'll bring it to you tonight. A top-quality emerald Buddha head costs at least a small fortune. He's really going all out this time, but I'm not interested in anything except his life. Sorry, I'm very busy with work today and don't have time to eat. As he spoke, he handed over all the stocks and property his family had given as engagement gifts. Since you're here, just take it directly, otherwise, we'd have to send someone to deliver it later, which would be troublesome. When are you going to return my family's stocks? Jiang Chuan began to plead. And Nan, can't you really forgive me this time? It was truly an accident yesterday. Zhou Nana was the one who seduced me. I've already fired her. All these years of my kindness to you, everything I've given you, all my love. Could you really not feel any of it? You can scold me, hit me, do whatever you need to vent your anger. I'll accept anything, but you can't abandon me. His handsome face was already streaked with tears. His amber eyes were filled with nothing but sorrow. Which woman would see this and not be moved to forgive with a softened heart? Well, I just took out my phone to capture this moment in a photo. Jiang Chuan's expression changed instantly as he anxiously said, And Nan, what are you trying to do? I chuckled lightly, putting my phone away as I said, weren't you just saying you'd accept whatever I do? Then I want to post this photo on my social media and expose your affair. Let netizens help me decide. If the forgive votes win, I'll forgive you. How about that? 7. Absolutely not. Jiang Chuan raised his voice and shouted, And Nan, doing this will ruin me. I shrugged, putting on a regretful expression as I said, Then there's no other way. You refused it yourself. I'm going to attend the conference now. It'll take 5 or 6 hours. If you want to stay here, feel free to do so. After speaking, he took the documents and walked out. Jiang Chuan's face turned red with anger, gritting his teeth as he said, And Nan, are you really not willing to give me another chance? I turned back and gave him a cold glance, as if looking at a dead man. No. When I returned to the office after the meeting, Jiang Chuan had already left. The 999 fresh and delicate roses weren't taken away, so I arranged for the assistant to give each female employee 2 during afternoon tea. After all, no matter who sent them, roses are always beautiful. After finishing all this, I stretched comfortably and began editing the 15-minute video down to 3 minutes, also adding mosaic effects. Zhou Nana is truly useless. Even after being put on stage yesterday, she couldn't perform well and failed to rise to the occasion. Then I'll just have to help her myself. Half an hour later, the top 3 spots on the trending list were completely dominated. Hashtag Top Tycoon Young Master Jiang and his personal secretary battle it out for 300 rounds. Hashtag Billionaire heiress of the Song Group suffers heartbreaking betrayal. Hashtag Blue fireworks are truly breathtaking. Hashtag The comment section was buzzing even more, with all of Jiang Chuan and Zhou Nana's information being dug up. Some even compared all the information and data between me and Zhou Nana, from education, height, figure, to facial features and zodiac signs. I won in every aspect, especially the clean and decisive breakup at the end, which was simply awesome, earning me the title of Breakup Queen. The Jiang family began vigorously debunking rumors, claiming everything was false and threatening legal action. They simply looked down on Zhou Nana's humble family background, now further tarnished by scandal. With no redeeming qualities, she had become a laughingstock in their circle. The wealthier and more powerful people are, the more calculating they become. Their children must bear responsibilities alongside enjoying privileges. This was why Jiang Chuan maintained a secret affair with Zhou Nana in their past life. In that case, I'll give them one last favor. I hired a private investigator to dig up all the hotel check-in records and intimate videos of Jiang Chuan and Zhou Nana from their high school and college days. tsk, over 30 pages of hotel records, not to mention their outdoor escapade in the parking lot, the half-hour together in the fitting room while shopping for lingerie, and even at the movie theater. Couples who never forget to cosplay even in public must be even wilder in private. 8. The cease and desist letter from the Jiang group became a laughingstock, with me spending money to boost its visibility. This scandal became known to everyone. Under these circumstances, Jiang Chuan's parents had no choice but to consent to their relationship, no matter how opposed they were. After all, mutual affection sounds much better than being caught in bed, doesn't it? So they held another press conference. Jiang Chuan and Zhou Nana held hands tightly, looking exceptionally sweet. I apologize for occupying public resources. I'm here to clarify the false information circulating online. My marriage to Song Nan, the heiress of the Song Group, was a business arrangement demanded by our parents. In reality, we had already broken up long ago. The allegations of infidelity are completely false, and I reserve the legal right to pursue action against those spreading these rumors. I urge everyone not to spread or believe in such baseless claims. I am deeply grateful for everyone's support in helping me successfully marry the woman I love, Zhou Nana. Our engagement ceremony will take place in 2 weeks. To many, Zhou Nana may seem like an utterly ordinary girl, but to me, she is the sun, so warm and kind. She pulled me back from the brink of despair. She is my salvation. I love her more than my own life. This script is excellent. It perfectly fits the public's perception of a wealthy, devoted man. While Zhou Nana embodies the kind-hearted Cinderella, they are running towards each other, and also redeeming each other. Their plummeting stocks began to soar again, showing a continuous upward trend. If the Jiang family hadn't returned the stocks and assets my family gifted during the engagement in advance, and additionally sent over an emerald Buddha head worth a small fortune, I would have definitely ruined this press conference. Mom said while stroking my hair with some heartache. Silly child. You've suffered so much injustice in this matter. You don't need to compromise and yield just because of our relationship with their parents. The reason your father and I work so hard in our careers is precisely so you won't have to suffer any injustice. I sighed helplessly and said seriously,